I'd like to tie in that and just kind of boost what my brother just said. If you find the society has a big responsibility on it, because like I said, me and Dave, you know, we may grow up in a more programmed, disciplined household, but still yet we are fans of a Vybz Kartel or the Baby or any one of these artists that speak about their artistry in the sense of, you know, I'm gonna pop or I'm gonna smack it up and kiss her on the breast or whatever those lyrics are, but it does not affect us as people. So like Brother Lang said, is that that is more of a responsibility on the upbringing of the child. We cannot blame a genre of music. To do that is coming like, all right, let's take a society that is on earth, that is almost crime free. You look at a place like Dubai, right? You think they're not listening to that kind of music over there? They love DJ Khaled, they love hip hop, but still yet, you don't see people going around shooting people. You don't see people going around raping people, although there must be rape there. There must be murder there. But what I'm saying is that it's not prevalent in the society of the Middle East or in Dubai, so to speak, because there's a certain amount of discipline that is expected, whether it's from religion, whether it's from church or state. There's a certain amount of responsibility that they expect from their citizens. And that comes from the government, and that also starts in the home and the upbringing.
Robert, I'm gonna jump in here. As I listen to Grams and Lloyd, three things come to mind. In English, we know of this proverb: charity begins at home. Lloyd and Grams will know this one, a big time Jamaican proverb. You have to break the tree from it young. In English, that would be, you have to break the tree when it's young, right? And then the last one, which we would all know, is it takes a village to raise a child. So again, we always need to come back to the family structure, the home dynamics, the parenting dynamics. What is happening there? In the same interview that I referenced earlier about Winfred Williams and Kartel, Kartel said this: if you're looking to Vybz Kartel to be a role model for your child or to grow your child, you have already lost, and that says a lot about you as a parent and your parenting skills. And earlier in the interview, he said he's not a social leader, nor a political leader, nor a religious leader. He's an entertainer. He's paid to entertain, and this is entertainment. Now, that can be broken down because, as we know, when we look at celebrities or public figures, for example, we have expectations about their behavior because we do believe that people look up to them as role models. Where it gets a little gray now is this: just because somebody is a known public figure doesn't mean you have to follow them. The choice still comes back to you. What are you going to emulate? What are you going to process and digest and take in for yourself? So it's this gray line, right? People, for example, want to blame Mark Zuckerberg and all the social media leaders for what social media has done to society. But they could argue that all they've done is given you a platform, and the platform was intended for you to connect in a healthy way. But now we realize using social media, using our cell phones can cause addictions. They can have real impacts, real effects for your mental health. And now issues about data privacy, data protection, data ownership. So who exactly is responsible here? Who's at fault here? And the reality is there are some things for which the individuals need to be responsible for. And then there are some things that we need to have a broader discussion about as a society where social responsibility is concerned. I must tell you, when I look at this case and really step back, because Adidja Palmer, this guy, Vybz Kartel, and going back to Leng and the names, remember what him call himself? Adia the teacher, world boss, right? And all these positive associations. So it's funny. This guy says he's not a leader, but then he attach these kind of names to himself at the same time. And in the same interview, he said he's offering leadership through music and entrepreneurship. So it's like, where are you gonna fall here? It's like Trump wanting to take responsibility for some things, and then Kweli says he's not responsible for this. So we really need to have these discussions, and this is it. Are we convicting Vybz Kartel for murder? So yes, he was found, he was convicted for that. Or is this a trial about social norms and values in Jamaica? What's really on trial here?
What is the real issue here? Well, you guys have turned out to be quite a conservative group for as against what I expected, which is very, very good. No one is doubting the fact that there's a role of the family and that cultural conditioning is very important in how a society evolves. The reference to Dubai and other conservative societies is well noted. However, there are still reports. I mean, like, we're not going to stick our head in the sand and pretend like we are not aware of his personality and his aura in Jamaica. I mean, I was in Kingston around the time of his sentencing, and you could have the tension was so palpable that I thought there was going to be a riot or something when he was sentenced. So he's a very influential person, has records. I mean, I was reading.
I would just interject, run there for 1 second. Yeah. One of the reasons why it was not because of his influence as an artist and society, which was the reason why you saw this attentiveness to it right across the social spectrum. It is because it was a test of our judicial system at a point where we knew that he was already been given a free hand in certain situations, right? And so what it was for our society was a proof of concept of our justice system. It had nothing to do with his influence as the Vybz Kartel, but how Jamaica approached the system for an artist. So the first artist, I think the last artist that went to jail for murder was Don Drummond. And that was a big thing in Jamaica because Don Drummond was the basis of the Scatterlights, which is our pantheons of music overall. 30 years later, you had people like Gregory Isaacs again, who got incarcerated in the 80s, late 80s for a gun charge. And he himself, Gregory Isaacs, went to jail a total of 32 times. He was arrested and jailed for short occasions 32 times during his 45-year career. Every society has that reflective artist that has that standpoint. I mean, the 90s artist would be Ninja Man, who has been in and out for some time till he's currently incarcerated. But for Kartel, it was that artist for that generation. He was that pivotal entertainment person who, certain leeway. And what was happening at this standpoint was, you're going to lock up an entertainer. What happened? So it wasn't about Vybz Kartel as a person, but just the proof of concept of our judicial system. So that is why you would have seen that tension and that almost, you could have cut it like a knife that day when the judgment was coming down. So, we don't want to reflect it too much that it's Kartel, because there are other things in our society, as we're trying to tell you, that are reflective of our society. And Kartel is one small speck in that spectrum of things and issues that we have here. Just very small spectrum. And I get you, we're trying to reflect the entire concept of how Vybz Kartel has a social influence, but really and truly, he's not that influential as a person when you look at the other problems we have here in Jamaica. It's just like Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria, and Nigeria has a lot of people don't know outside of the scope unless you're there in Nigeria. But then I wouldn't understand being an outsider at the root cause of these issues. I mean, until I hear the root cause from somebody who is in Abuja, like Murphy Dredd, who explains to me what SARS is. I never understand. I'm sure a lot of people in the Western world had that. SARS was. But when you have gone into the base of it and realize what is happening, then you're able to see, oh, this is the root cause. So, I don't want to drill it down to Kartel. We have a larger problems in our society, but we can use Kartel as a pivotal point of reflection. I know. Wouldn't you say that?
Well, so
you said it perfectly. Sorry there, brother, but you said it perfectly. We have, and you addressed it earlier. I mean, you kind of summed it up already a long time ago, the link, because you said it's a reflection of bigger things. And my father always said that, you know, if we have a happy home, that's where it starts. You have a happy home, you're gonna have a happy community. Because if my neighbor is believing in the same things as I do, and you have this community that is dealing with a certain amount of discipline, a certain amount of responsibility, the communities turn into nations. The nation turn into better worlds. And I grew up hearing this. So no matter what music I listen to, if I go to the strip club tomorrow, that's not going to change me. So there's a moral responsibility for the artist, yes. But then you have to, at the same time, they're saying you have freedom of speech in America and you have your artistry. So I'm only saying what I grew up on and what I grew up rough too, with lots of guns and lots of ganja and crackhead down the street. I grew up, but it doesn't have a reflection on me. So of course, church and state has a responsibility, but it starts in the home. I really do believe so, because the Black families really need to take responsibility and address this. You know, with parents finding all kind of ways. Brother Lang has mentioned so many important factors where parents are giving their children, you know, television to watch, and because they want to go do their own thing or they have a meeting. You can't leave parenting to technology, because children are going to find their way. And whether even if we block all the negative lyrics on television or radio, these kids are going to find it today, because that's where they're gravitating to. And that comes from the parenting. So there's a thing that we have to take responsibility as Black people, because I want to tell you that you don't see a lot of these questions in white music, or so to say pop music or jazz. You don't. So we have a responsibility that there has to be some kind of control. There has to be balance. Because when I go into the bedroom, I'm a different person. I'm not the same person you're talking. I have to get strong and ready and do what I need to do. You understand? So when I'm outside the bedroom, I'm a different person. So these things have to start from the beginning, like Brother Lang said, and it's bringing up that child, what you're feeding that child, how the parenting is going. These parents today, I'm sometimes guilty of the same thing. Give them the iPad. And these things have to change, because you don't know what they're going to be watching. So it's not just the genre of music. It's not just the artist. It's we as a community. It takes a village.
Definitely.